Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2016. I'm Lafern Fraser with the details. This country's government has signed an agreement with Abu Dhabi for the loan of $15 million from the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, which will go toward the geothermal energy project here. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who is in Abu Dhabi, signed on behalf of the government of SVG. The other two signatories are the Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, Adman Amin, and the Director General of the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, Mohammed Saif Ghanem Al Sawaudi. Prime Minister Gonsalves is expected to leave Abu Dhabi today for London, where he will be involved in a number of meetings with investors. He is expected to return to the state on Sunday. And opposition leader Anim Eustace has admonished Minister of Finance and Energy Affairs, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, on his administration's decision to sign on the geothermal deal in Abu Dhabi. Eustace says that Dr. Gonsalves should have renegotiated the terms and agreements of the project, which he says is of little value now that oil prices have fallen.
The price of oil has gone to below $30 a barrel. Below $30 a barrel. The lower the price of oil is, the harder it is to have a lower price for geothermal. The lower the price of oil, the harder it is to go to geothermal, because the oil price come down to where geothermal was. So there's no point investing there if you not show how the price of oil going to go. Because you will do all sorts of things and end up paying the same price for your fuel. And we felt, and I say so now, tonight, I said it yesterday, that Gonsalves should have sat down with the investors.
Eustace predicts that the geothermal project will become a, quote, white elephant or too expensive to maintain. He highlighted that the project needs at least 4 oil wells at a cost of $5 million each.
We spoke about it already, and reviewed this thing before he go to sign it. One well for geothermal costs $5 million. You have to drill 3 or 4 wells, which carry $15–20 million without doing all the other things you have to do in relation to geothermal, but you gone off to sign. If that continues without proper study, we could end up having another white elephant in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we could end up losing Vinlet, because those businessmen in that company, they interested in Vinlet. I said that 2.5 years ago, and I'm more convinced now that they have that.
A call for citizens to address the issues that affect them has been sounded by lawyer Maya Eustace. At the New Democratic Party's NDP rally at Layu last Saturday night, the daughter of the opposition leader, Anim Eustace, says that too many persons are afraid to speak up on matters affecting the country. She commended the protesters in front of the electoral office for what she described as defending democracy and called on more Vincentians to let their voices be heard.
Have a tendency to forget what the issues are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What are the burning issues? Recognize something else though. All of us, supporters of this so-called administration of government, as well as those of you gathered here today, have one thing in common. You are all invested in what happens. We don't have to agree with them, but we can recognize at least that we are all engaged in a struggle. Who is going to bring Bob Marley from the dead to tell people that St. Vincent is on fire right now? That group. That group. Because when you say nothing and you think nothing about it and you say to people, it done happen, move on. You are an upholder. And the upholder is worse than the thief.
Speaking on the issues of the mosquito-borne Zika virus affecting a number of countries in the Caribbean and elsewhere was Member of Parliament for West Kingstown, Daniel Cummings. According to him, the country must do more to put in place preventative measures to counteract the spread of the virus. He chided current Minister of Health, Senator Luke Brown, for not taking what he believes is a serious stance on the issue.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, listen to me. Listen carefully. While the rest of the world understands the seriousness of that Zika virus, and when Trinidad has already called a health emergency, all that young clown could do is sit down with people and talk rubbish. I want to say to you tonight, wherever you live in this country, to take the Aedes aegypti mosquito seriously. Clean up your surroundings. Get rid of every container that could breed that mosquito. Because that mosquito is just like the ULP. It will kill you.
One of the many provisions of the Sustainable Development Goals adopted at the UN conference in 2015 instructed member states to reduce inequality within and among countries. And according to Minister of Economic Planning and Sustainable Development, Camilo Gonçalves, it is clear that in SVG there is a gap between the wealthy and the poor. In his address at the presentation of the 2016 budget, Gonçalves highlighted all 17 goals, noting that the ministry and government have a greater role to play in trying to lift the standard of living in SVG.
Similarly, we're charged with building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation. And a lot of what this ministry will do in the coming years is to facilitate the financing of the creation of infrastructure. We have to make human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And so when some want to talk about building materials being a bribe, they can be constituted and placed quite correctly in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals and ensuring that human beings, our brothers and sisters, have a safe, resilient, and secure home in which they can sleep at night.
Gonçalves said his ministry will ensure to have its goal of completing 15 projects by the end of 2016, and that they will push for the development of numerous projects which will in turn develop the nation.
In very many ways will also be a ministry of follow-up and a ministry of implementation. And we take very seriously our obligation to ensure that as much of the money as we can wrangle from our development partners gets spent this year as budgeted, and hopefully even more as the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs continue to solicit assistance and cooperation from our many development partners, and indeed our own ministry will do that. We are a ministry for the times, Mr. Speaker, a time shaped by climate change and a time shaped by the mainstreaming of the concept of sustainable development. And we believe that we are positioned this year to seek opportunities amid the challenges of environmental and economic instability.
The new governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, held a video conference with members of the media yesterday afternoon as he assumed duties as the third governor of the central bank. Antoine expressed gratitude to the Monetary Council for the faith and trust they have placed in him and acknowledges the colossal contribution his predecessor, Sir Dwight Venner, has made. He outlined what he called his vision for the central bank and for the currency union and highlighted areas of strategic priority that he he will concentrate on. Speaking on his vision for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, Antoine said he would like to see a strong EC dollar, sustainable and resilient financial system, sustainable public finances, as well as single-digit unemployment. He stated that the quality of life of the citizenry is important to the union's development, and the central bank will do its part to continue to improve the lives of all.
That level is we want to see people employed. We are particularly concerned about our youth. And we understand that if we don't reach out to our youth and gainfully employ them, educate them, and provide them with opportunities, we're going to lose a generation to a great peril. And so we must look at the issue of employment. And finally, a striving and thriving citizenry. We believe that we must have people express themselves, people must realize the potential in the currency union. At the end of the day, regulating banks, regulating the supply of money and credit are important, but they are ends to growth and development, which is enshrined in the purposes of the bank. If you look at our agreement, our ECC agreement, we need to make sure that the quality of life of our people is improving, and therefore we have to look at the citizens.
Antoine added that the central bank will provide leadership and important policy advice to member states to elevate growth and development.
So here again, we're focusing on the real issues. Now there are some people who feel the central bank should simply focus on regulating commercial banks and the supply of money and credit. Those are very important core functions of the bank. But I truly believe, given the needs of our region and given what our institution represents our region, we have to also play a very important role in providing advice to our government, to our clients on the matters of employment, of development, and of growth. I think that's very important. And what I envisage is that we are going to be proactive. We are going to look around the global arena. We are going to see the trends. We're going to acknowledge the realities, and we want to be proactively advising our government about how to meet opportunities and to address threats.
The new ECCB governor said he is hopeful that he can work with persons who wish to serve the region with distinction to create a positive impact.
I made a point to staff, management and staff earlier. I believe we are servants. We have to serve excellently, and it begins with us listening. All of us, starting with me as the governor, and the entire staff, we must listen with our eyes, our ears, our heads, our hearts to the currency union, to our clients, to be able to understand the needs and to be able to respond to those needs. And I also believe we must delight in serving the region. I made a point that I want to work with people who are not just here for a paycheck or who are just here to build a CV. I want to work with people who take joy in serving the region because we believe we're making an important difference.
Vincentians are being encouraged to educate themselves about the different types of abuse and to recognize when they're placed in these situations so they can seek help. Psychologist at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, Giselle Miller, who was speaking on the issue of emotional abuse on Hits Talk last Sunday, says this sort of abuse involves a regular pattern of verbal offense, threatening, bullying, and constant criticism, as well as more subtle tactics like intimidation, shaming, and manipulation, which is used to control and subjugate the other person. The psychologist says the most obvious scenario for emotional abuse is in an intimate relationship in which a man is the abuser and the woman is the victim. However, in recent times, there are cases in which men and women abuse each other at equal rates. She says it must be noted that emotional abuse can occur in any relationship between parent and child, in friendships, and with relatives.
Emotional abuse looks at situations where persons, for one, are not allowed to express their emotions on different things. So there are sometimes some men think that, they probably call it nag, or you wail too much, you fuss for everything, so that you are being overlooked. You're not given that time to actually speak about the different things that has been affecting you in the relationship. And on another hand, emotional abuse looks in terms of where persons try to get control over your emotions. So they manipulate situations, they manipulate you in the relationship, and you find that they use harsh words towards you. They try to get at your identity and your character. So they tell you you are worthless, you're good for nothing, nobody wants you. It's a kind of intimidation that they tell you that you can't or you will never amount to anything. I am the person that made you. So it is basically a sort of manipulation and control that they use, psychologically to keep you bound.
According to Dr. Miller, nothing is more damaging to a person's confidence and self-esteem than being in an emotionally abusive relationship, and that unlike physical abuse, which rears its ugly head in dramatic outbursts, emotional abuse can be more insidious and elusive. She says in some cases, neither the abuser nor the victim are fully aware it's happening, and therefore persons must not allow others to do or say anything to them that would make them feel lesser or worthless, especially when the person tries to pass it off as a joke.
Repeated exhibition. And the sad thing is, one of the things we have noticed is that women especially who take this sort of abuse from men would have also been taking this from their parents or grandparents, their guardians. So when you have children growing up feeling that, they're hearing words that, you're like a worthless pooper, or you're nasty and good for nothing like your mother, you're going to end up in jail, so they have already had these sort of things ingrained, in their minds, and they accept these things. One of the things I say to people all the time, we are the ones who train persons how to treat us by the things we accept. So when you keep accepting these sort of things and you trivialize it as, oh no, he's just joking or whatever, and that's one of the things people do. Everything is a joke. But there's this saying that to say something that is not every skin teeth, it's every gum teeth, right? Because people tend to put in some of these subtle manipulations and emotional overpowering statements in little jokes and little snippets of things.
And barrister at law and former registrar and magistrate Paula David said for too long domestic violence has been framed and understood exclusively as a women's issue, noting that while most attention is given to women who are abused by men, men are often overlooked as victims of domestic violence who suffer in silence, afraid that no one will believe or take them seriously. David said societal pressure has a somewhat big impact in this matter, as abused men may feel that they are somehow less of a man for, quote, allowing, unquote, themselves to be abused by women.
The society we live in, that is another, I suspect that's one of the reasons we don't see a lot of men complaining about domestic abuse, because I have seen social workers laugh when men complain about being beaten. I've seen social workers laugh, and they are trained persons. So we have to think we live in a society and what the social pressures are. Because I think one of the strong social pressures is if a man is beaten by a woman, he doesn't report it.
And in court news, Lawrence Wilson, a minibus operator here, has been arrested and charged with the offense of unlawful and malicious wounding on Clinton John, a resident of McCarthy. He is accused with arming himself with an object and inflicting a wound to the head of John during a fracas that developed into an altercation in Wilson's bus on January 29, 2016 at Arnessville. Wilson appeared at the Serious Offences Court on Monday, February 1st, before Chief Magistrate Rayshon Brown, and pleaded guilty to the charge. However, based on the explanation given to the court, the magistrate said she had no other alternative but to enter a plea of not guilty. April 25th, 2016 is the date set for trial. Meanwhile, Nikita Roberts, a young man from Rockies, is now before the court on a charge of robbery. Roberts is accused of arming himself with a gun and depriving Richard Joachim of Queens Drive of $11,000 at Rockies on July 22, 2015. He appeared at the Serious Offences Court on Monday, February 1, 2016, that's today, facing the charge which he was not allowed to plead to as it was laid indictable. The police prosecutor had no objection to his bail, which was allowed in the sum of $15,000 with one surety. He was also asked to surrender all travel documents documents to the court and to report to the Central Police Station on Mondays to Thursdays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. until February 10th, 2016, when the preliminary inquiry is expected to be heard. In more local news, the National Trust, along with the Argentina-based Fundación Cetus, will for the next few days conduct whale-watching seminars in several coastal communities here. Speaking at a media briefing yesterday, Director of the National Trust, Louise Mitchell-Joseph, noted that the 7-year initiative has sought to aid in the development of whale-watching activities in SVG, which has the possibility of becoming a major economic activity for the country.
So over the next few days, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing seminars down in Beckway with the communities in Beckway, showing them what a great economic activity they can have and great business they can have from whale watching. And they're actually going to be going out with boats to go and look for whales and other wildlife. So people will have a hands-on experience with them and with Miguel in particular, who knows about doing this whale watching business. So they'll have hands-on experience out at sea over the next few days in Beckway. And also during this trip, we're doing something which we haven't done before, which is to engage the communities of St. Vincent, in particular the community of Barley. We're going to be having a seminar on Friday on the mainland, where the persons of Barley or any other persons really who are interested in getting into whale watching will be invited to a seminar at the National Parks Office, where they will get exposed to learning more about whales and about the whale watching business as a whole.
Representative from Fundación Cetus, Carolina Casani, said that the 23-year-old non-profit organization has worked with numerous countries in advancing and developing whale-watching activities in their coastal communities in an effort to expose them to the benefits of ecotourism.
So you see the potential, you see how it has developed, and we are sure the potential is also here. We don't need, when we say whale watching, we only think about whales. We need to have a broader mind and think about ecotourism, especially in landscapes as you have here in St. Vincent. Seeing whales is an extra attraction, but going out to the sea, seeing the landscapes, seeing turtles, seeing birds, being able to have a snorkeling experience is a product that many people from abroad would love to pay to have. So that's what we are trying to help people to see.
Expressing his delight in being afforded the opportunity to share his skill so as to develop others, whale-watching operator at Fundación Cetus, Miguel Botazi, said that he hopes to build a greater interest among persons in SVG about the business of whale-watching.
I hope go the next days to the dissertations we make in the area to capacitation. All the people is interested in this activity, and think is very interesting too for all this place. The people see how we work in Argentina, because in personal this activity start around 40 years ago in my place. It's a family business. We start with very basic stuff, and growing the last years very well for all the economy in the area, and we feel very proud for all the work in the last years, and we hope these activities can help in other places too.
Director of the National Trust, Louise Mitchell-Joseph, took the opportunity to encourage local whalers to invest in the whale-watching business, which she believes is a great way to build an ecotourism industry. She said that while the National Trust believes in preserving the history of whaling, they do believe that it is time to go into whale-watching, where persons can appreciate and enjoy such magnificent creatures.
some of the most magnificent creatures in the world, and we're very fortunate that we have about 5 different species of whales in our waters, and a lot of these species are actually here year-round. So we can have a feasible whale watching industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines throughout the year. And as we struggle to be competitive internationally and to find things to distinguish ourselves, looking to our environment is certainly a place where we can look and we can be special. I mean, if you see these brochures from Argentina, I mean, they show the coast of Argentina, but the largest images of the different beautiful whales jumping out of the waters. Now, we could have similar brochures for St. Vincent and the Grenadines and have, you know, images of the short-fin pilot whales and the sperm whale and the humpback whales that we have in our waters, which we've never capitalized on. You know, our focus has been on, you know, hunting and eating and enjoying that as a cultural activity, but there's so much more that so many more benefits could be had if we switched the whale watching and started to really appreciate these magnificent creatures that we're so lucky to have in our waters.
Commenting on the progress of the whale watching initiative here, Mitchell Joseph said that there has been positive feedback with many whalers willing to come on board. She further called for persons to recognize that whale watching and ecotourism are good business ventures.
There has been a great deal of enthusiasm for the whale watching initiative. There's been a lot more support than I expected and a lot less negativity. I mean, I would say the only time I really experienced any negativity to the initiative is when I decided to go on the whale key the last time a whale was killed, to go and have a look at it myself, and I had some comments thrown at me. But other than that, people have been embracing, because what we have not done is said, you have to stop whaling, because we don't have that mandate. The National Trust does not have the mandate to tell anyone to stop whaling. We're simply saying we believe that the right way to go is whale watching, and what we're doing is we're empowering them to do whale watching. We're not simply being critical and saying we don't like what you're doing, you should stop. We're saying here's an alternative, and we're going to actually help you get there by sending you to see whale watching in the rest of the world, which is what we did, by actually helping you financially set up a business. So we're sort of leading them in the direction, you know, with their support. We're just offering an alternative.
In its continuation to promote the culture and heritage of the Garifuna people, the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, or the TGHF, will host its 4th annual International Garifuna Festival, which is expected to run from March 8th to 12th, 2016, under the theme Living the Garifuna Heritage and Culture. President of the TGHF, David Darky Williams, noted that for the last 14 years or so, the organization has remained focused on retrieving and reclaiming of the Garifuna culture, which has been lost to SVG. Williams said that the activities of the festival seek to fulfill the foundation's goal, as Garifuna culture continues to be practiced by others, so why not appreciate it in its native land? He stated that once familiarized, Vincentians will indeed be proud of such rich heritage.
We are not doing what we are doing because we want to live the way we lived 200 years ago. One of the richest aspects of Vincentian existence for a very long time is what Garifuna people have been able to achieve by their music and generally their culture. The music is one of the fastest growing modern music in the world. And that music just contains a fusion of maybe 1 or 2 other rhythms, particularly the Latin rhythms, that is infused into the original Garifuna rhythms, like the paranda and the punta. And the punta rock music, as I say, is one of the fastest growing music in the world. And its origins are right here among us in St. Vincent. Garifuna Heritage Foundation is hoping that we will be able to retrieve some of that and use it to our benefit and for our own development.
The festival will see a creative workshop held on the 8th of March, followed by the International Garifuna Symposium on the 9th. The Garifuna Village and exhibition will run from the 9th to the 12th, and the 2nd National Schools Garifuna Cultural Folk Festival on Friday, March 11th at the Victoria Park. Expanding more on the Garifuna Creative Workshop and the International Garifuna Symposium on the 8th and 9th of March respectively, William said that the foundation will partner with the Trinidad-based UE Center for Creative and Festival Arts for both events, which will be facilitated by Brendan Lasille and Raul Gibbons respectively.
The workshop will be the first day, and this workshop will entail the use of the creative arts or the theater arts as a means of community education. It is part of the education system. It has brought a lot of benefits to lots of communities I know in Trinidad. And Mr. Lakai will be here to share with our, I believe, teachers and members of communities on how this particular art form could be used. Following on that workshop, Mr. Gibbons will be conducting his symposium, getting people to understand how their indigenous value, how their indigenous material could be used for their own benefits.
Coordinator of the Garifuna Village, Julian said that the construction of the village, which runs from the 9th to the 12th of March, will serve as an educational venture to get the Vincentian public more aware of Garifuna heritage and culture.
The grounds of the Carnegie Building, also known as the Old Public Library, and also have an exhibition at the Heritage Square in Kingstown. The village will be created using indigenous materials and using local Vincentian craftsmen from the Garifuna communities. Persons from various communities and the general public will be invited to be trained in the construction of the huts and to gather information on the materials and the availability. Bring together persons from the communities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to explore mechanisms for exchanging craft techniques and indigenous technology. The village will also portray historical information on the Kalinago and the Garifuna communities. This will hopefully lead to a heightened public awareness for the need of Vincentians to become more involved.
Dr. Julian Jules Ferdinand secured the Best Lecturer Award at the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, UE, Trinidad and Tobago. This is the second consecutive year that Dr. Ferdinand has received the award, which was presented at the graduation ceremony on Saturday at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain, Trinidad. The Best Lecturer Award is presented to the lecturer who assesses the highest average score during the academic year by the participants in the graduate program. Dr. Ferdinand is one of two senators appointed by the opposition New Democratic Party to serve in the parliament here. The preliminary round of the 2016 ECGC Primary Schools Performing Arts Festival, or PRISPAF, began today with performances from students of the Kingstown Preparatory, C.W. Prescott Primary, and the Petersville Primary School. The preliminary round will run for 6 weeks during weekdays ending on March 4th. Speaking at the opening of the festival at the Kingstown Preparatory School, coordinator of PRISPAF, Martin Kwashi, reiterated his call for parents to help their children unearth their hidden talents, which he says can be an asset to them later on in life.
You're supposed to let your children perform. They have God-given talents, and you have the right to let them perform. Let them show off their skills. Some of them might not be good academically, but they can sing and they can dance. So there is a balance there. God did not just make you just like that. He put talent in every person. Whether it be 5 or 6 or 7, you have to make use of that. So the parents, you have to look carefully, see what your child is doing, and encourage them. They might be drawing or singing or dancing or just playing with the radio. Every minute they go on in the radio, mash up the radio and go inside looking for something. That might be the talent that would make them money in the future. So do not prevent them from exercising their God-given talent. I love children and I love to see them perform.
Representative of the Ministry of Education, Dexter Bach, expressed his gratitude to the teachers, sponsors, and Ministry of Culture for hosting the festival. Bach encourages more students to get involved in the performing arts, as this would enhance any field of employment that they take in the future.
You to know and to understand that the arts, whether it be dancing, singing, drawing, whatever it may be, is not just for you to do as a hobby, but is something that would refine whatever field you pursue in life. If you're a doctor, music will help you to be a better individual, help you to give better care to your patients. You might be a diplomat representing St. Vincent somewhere around the world. When you meet with other diplomats, you'll be able to speak in an educated manner about the arts. So I want to encourage you once again to put your best foot forward and represent your school well and make it to the finals. So once again, thank you, sponsors, Ministry of Culture, teachers. Have a pleasant day and put your best foot forward. Thank you.
Continuing with more from Prispath, Leah De Silva with her song Talking to the Moon, Hannah Williams with her song I Wrote a Song to God, as well as the dancing duo with their performance of an African dance were selected to represent the Kingstown Preparatory School. Here's a highlight of the performances from the students of the Kingstown Prep today.
All right.